This is Pedro Predictions. In this video I will be talking about the remaining spots for the 2023 Asian Cup Qualifiers, as the second round, I believe, of the 2022 World Cup Qualifiers acted as a qualification round in which 13 teams already advanced and qualified for the tournament. So the Asian Football Confederation was quite clever to incorporate those two qualifiers. Something very interesting about this Asian Cup qualifiers is that there is only one host for each group. So all the four teams will only play in one country. They will only play each other once and then qualify. Yes, you can argue there is home advantage, and it's a skewed advantage that one team gets to play all their games at home and all the other teams have to play away essentially. But the reason I like this idea is because, one, you're not trying to congest all this matches in this very busy international calendar. Two, it's the same in futsal qualification tournaments of just one host nation, and it seems to work all right there, and there doesn't seem to be that much of an issue of the home advantage there. And three, you're reducing travel time, you're reducing CO2 emissions, pollution and that. So all in all, I actually think it's a decent idea. So go Asia! Well done, Asian Football Confederation, for being eco-friendly, and we Europeans could learn something from it. Well, I don't know if that was the Asian Football Confederation's idea, was about, to be eco-friendly. I think it was more to do with COVID and all this complications and all this rescheduling, match fixtures complications. From Group A, I see Jordan and Indonesia qualifying ahead of group host nation Kuwait and Nepal. Jordan, they're the strongest team in the group by far. They've got a lot of experience within the Asian Cup itself and in qualifiers. Interesting fact, in the 2014 FIFA World Cup qualifiers, they progressed into the last playoff stage, in which they played another confederation, which unfortunately was from South America. Now it was Uruguay, and they lost out to Uruguay, but they almost qualified for the World Cup. Indonesia, I pipped them over Kuwait, even though Kuwait's the host nation, is because Kuwait recently have had they've been off form and they've had some really weird results. Their latest game was a friendly against Malta, in which they lost 2-0. No disrespect, Malta, but come on, losing 2-0 to Malta, that's cool. Anyway, Indonesia. So I was actually watching the AFF Suzuki Cup a bit, just gone. It's like the Southeast Asian tournament, and Indonesia really surprised me, because when I've seen them in the past, they have a tendency to, when they concede a goal or two, to capitulate. But in this tournament, they showed a lot of fighting back, willpower, and it was really good to see. There's a really young guy called, I think he's 20 years old, called Witan Sulaiman. He looks really good as an attacking midfielder. They've also got the experience Evan Dimas, and they just looked like a coherent squad. Yes, I might be slightless towards Indonesia because my in-laws are Indonesian and I'm wearing batik. Woo! All this lovely pattern clothing, lovely stuff. Amazing food and great people too. But anyway, but I do feel like Indonesia right now are stronger and play better football than Kuwait. So the Indonesian Football Association has gone through quite a lot of turmoil. There was this breakaway league at one point, the Rebellion Indonesian Breakaway League, and then the normal Indonesian Breakaway League. And I'm not too sure how, but the government got involved. So that's why FIFA suspended them for the 2018 World Cup qualifiers and the 2019 Asian Cup qualifiers. A breakaway league, huh? That sounds very familiar. European Super League. Yeah, what? Interesting fact about Indonesian football. So Indonesia have qualified for one World Cup. That was back in 1938. So actually before the Second World War. And they qualified virtue of Japan withdrawing from qualifiers. Indonesia holds a record for playing the least number of World Cup games, because back then it was only straight knockouts. So if you lost the first game, you were immediately out, and that's what happened to Indonesia, and they lost 6-0 to Hungary. So that's kind of interesting, because that's my blood family, Hungary, beating my in-laws, Indonesia. Okay. From Group B, I see Palestine topping the group qualifying, and Philippines qualifying with them ahead of Yemen and group hosts Mongolia. Palestine are the strongest team in the group, in my opinion. They've done really well considering the poor state Palestine is in right now. They've qualified for the last 2 Asian Cups consecutively, and I see them doing it again this time round. Philippines and Yemen did qualify for the last Asian Cup in 2019, but Yemen's recent results are looking bad. They missed out on the playoff to that 2021 Arab Cup, so they didn't partake in that. And I can't really remember their last win. So their form is looking bad. And Philippines have had mixed results recently, but I feel like they're just that bit stronger. From Group C, I see host nations Uzbekistan topping the group and qualifying, along with Thailand qualifying with them over Maldives and Sri Lanka. In my opinion, this is the most skewed group, because I feel like Uzbekistan and Thailand are far stronger than Maldives and Sri Lanka. It's interesting how this group formed, because in my opinion, Uzbekistan and Thailand are the strongest teams in this qualification round. Thailand will be coming in with confidence, having won that AFF Suzuki Cup, which I mentioned earlier, like that Southeast Asian Cup. Though I do see Uzbekistan topping the group, because I feel like they are stronger than Thailand and they are the host nation at the end of the day. One to watch for Uzbekistan is Shomurodov. He acts as like a super sub for Roma. He's about 25, so he's coming towards his peak. I know he doesn't get that much game time for Roma, but he's an overall good number 9 to see from Central Asia. Now, because there's only 11 spaces actually left instead of 12, one of the runner-ups out of the 6 groups will not qualify. That'll probably be down to goal difference, could be down to fair play, such as yellow cards, red cards and whatnot. But for the sake of this video, I will act as if the group winners and the runner-ups will qualify. From Group D, I see host nations India topping the group and qualifying, along with Hong Kong over Afghanistan and Cambodia. I do think India is the strongest team in the group by far, and I do think Hong Kong will edge the others, though it will be close. India do have the mighty Chetri in their ranks, who has 80 goals in 126 appearances for India. That's only 1 goal behind Lionel Messi in international scoring. He's also the 6th highest international scorer of all time, and he is 37 and he still hasn't retired from international football. Well done, man. All due credit to him. Though, the big question about Indian football is, when will India qualify for a FIFA World Cup? Interesting fact about Indian football, India have qualified for a World Cup actually. They qualified for the 1950 World Cup, virtue of other Asian nations withdrawing from qualifiers. However, India did not participate in this World Cup in 1950 because of expenses and practicalities, bearing in mind India just became an independent country as well, but also because FIFA did not allow players to play barefoot, which apparently was a concern. From Group E, I see Bahrain topping the group and qualifying for the tournament, along with group hosts Malaysia qualifying for the Asian Cup over Turkmenistan and Bangladesh. Bahrain, I feel like they're the strongest team in the group. Like Jordan, they actually have experience of World Cup playoffs against other confederations. They missed out actually in the 2010 World Cup, I want to say, against New Zealand. Malaysia, the reason I've pipped them over Turkmenistan is because they are hosts, and I think that'll play to their advantage. And they've actually got massive stadiums as well, which again, I think they'll play to their advantage. They have the Bukit Jalil Stadium, which is an 87,000 seater. That is actually insane. Like, imagine that being full of Malaysian fans. Like, I don't think Turkmenistan would stand a chance. Fun fact, you've actually got massive stadiums in Southeast Asia. You've got the one I mentioned in KL, Kuala Lumpur, the Bukit Jalil, which is an 87,000 seater that acts as the Malaysian national stadium. You've got the Jakarta International Stadium in Indonesia, which is an 82,000 seater. You've got the Shah Alam Stadium in Malaysia, which is an 80,000 seater. You've got the Gelora Bung Karno Stadium in Jakarta, Indonesia, which actually acts as the Indonesian national stadium with 77,000 seater. You've got the Singaporean national stadium, which is 55,000 seater, I believe. And you've got many 40, 50 plus thousand stadium seaters in that region. So it should be no surprise as to why these three nations do actually want to host the 2034 World Cup. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Do you think Southeast Asia can host a World Cup? Given Qatar's bid to host a World Cup was successful, even though half of their stadiums weren't even constructed at the time of bidding, but that's its own, we know what's happened there. Who's to say Southeast Asia can't host a World Cup? At this rate, I should be the ambassador for Southeast Asia's World Cup hosting bid. And I'm wearing batik. Represent. Look at me go. Final group F. For me, I feel like this was the hardest to predict, and I feel like this will be the closest group in terms of all the teams, and I will mention why later. But from Group F, I do see host nations Kyrgyzstan topping the group and qualifying, along with Tajikistan over Myanmar and Singapore. Now, Kyrgyzstan is the team that qualified for the latest Asian Cup in 2019, and they actually got to the round of 16, and they just about lost out a place in the quarterfinals to UAE in added extra time, so they had a really good tournament last time out for themselves. However, they have lost their past 3 games. Tajikistan, it's going to be an interesting Central Asian derby there between Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan. And they did play each other in the last World Cup qualifiers, and Tajikistan I feel like did quite well in that group, apart from, Japan dominated that group, but I feel like Tajikistan did well for themselves. Singapore, now Kyrgyzstan and Singapore have met each other recently, and Kyrgyzstan edged them 2-1 in a friendly. However, Singapore is going to be coming in with confidence, I feel, because they won their Tri-Nations, and I think Singapore hosted it, but essentially a very small tournament between Singapore, Malaysia and Philippines. Singapore beat Malaysia and Philippines. So I'm not too sure how this group is going to go, but I do think host advantage will play a factor. That's why I say Kyrgyzstan. And Tajikistan, I feel like their results compared to Singapore, not just recently, but in like the last World Cup qualifiers and that, have been better. So that's why I've pipped them to above Singapore. And for Myanmar, they are the weakest team in this group by far, and I think they'll struggle. So those are my predictions for the 2023 Asian Cup qualifiers for the remaining slots. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And leave comments in the comment section below. And just as a last note of like the topics I've touched across, do you think India can qualify for a World Cup? If so, when will it be? And the Southeast Asia countries hosting a World Cup, do you think they'll actually bid? Do you think they'll be successful? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And see you in the next video. Pedro Predictions.